Good evening, everyone. There's Bruce and Terry, and thank you. Terry just shut everything down. Thank you, Terry. Before we get started, I want to pass this on to you, Terry. I was down at Commissioner's Court, ran into some folks from HGAC, a couple county judges, like from Matagorda and others, and they said to say hi when they found out I was from Meadows Place, and so I just wanted to pass that on before I forgot it. All right, so, and for the most part, they spoke pretty well of you, Terry. Just want to no, they spoke very highly of your time there. Thank you. All right, it is 6:30. It is Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Probably the last meeting of the year for this city council, last scheduled one for sure. It is taking place here in the council chambers, and I'm assuming the cameras are on. Everybody wave. Merry Christmas. We're going to, item A is call to order and Pledge of Allegiance. Cameron, have you ever led us in Pledge of Allegiance? Well, I think you need to do that tonight, and but we're going to let Lieutenant Adamus lead us in the invocation. We'll start with the pledge and then the invocation, because that's how it's written. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Remain standing.
Pray with me. Father, we come to you with the heart of thanksgiving today, and especially during this holiday season. We ask for you to guide us and give us wisdom as we engage in a meaningful discussion. Father, we ask that you continue to bless the citizens, members, first responders, and visitors of the city of Meadows Place. Lord, we ask that you bless those who struggle during this time, whether it be loss, anxiety, or depression. Hold them extra tight and provide them with comfort, peace, and freedom. As we all navigate through this season, let us not forget the reason for the season, and that is the birth of your Son, Jesus. And it is in his holy name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. So that, Cameron, that will be in the record for eternity. Moving on to item B, police reports. Reports, the police department will report first, led by Chief Gary Stewart. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and Merry Christmas to everyone, and Happy Holidays. As usual, we'll start out with a report with our number of accidents for this past month. We had 11, 7 arrests. There was 2,461 calls for service. Number of reports with that were 33. Total citations issued for traffic was 322 with 805 charges. There were 0 citations issued for our city ordinance violations. Warnings issued for traffic were 150 with charges of 240. City ordinance warnings was 8. I'll cover those shortly. And total activity count of 3,565. Our assaults, we had 0. We had 1 B&B. Again, on burglary of residents and burglary of businesses was 0. 8, as I mentioned before, on warnings for city ordinance, and I'll go over those in 1 minute. Criminal mischief 1, 4 for fraud, and we did have 1 robbery. House watch and close patrols all together, lumped together for park security and school checks, 1,521. Thefts were 2. 1 unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. As you see, our TLC program this time of year is ramped up pretty high. We had 145 passing, 34 failures. That's a pretty good rate, and 179 contacts for that. At the bottom of the page, you'll see the breakdown for the city of Norris violations. We had 3 for solicitors, 4 for noise complaint, and 1 for discharge of a firearm that we were unable to locate. Somebody heard what they thought was a gunshot while they were walking. We checked the area and were not able to locate anything. Accidents in the roundabouts were 0. Moving on to the chief's notes. If I can, I'll just direct you back to the calls for service. Let's get to page 4, and we'll go over the flock safety alerts. We had 83. Stolen vehicle alerts was 26. Sex offender alerts 6. Stolen plate 12. 21 for gang or suspected terrorist. 2 missing persons. 0 for warrants. 14 protective orders. Other agency hot list reports were 2, and violent person 0 this month. But as you can see below that, you'll see the flock hit recovery. And these are stolen vehicles we recovered from the flock hit. There were no arrests made from that necessarily, as the fact that they were reported stolen. We were able to take them out of the computer and release those for the investigations to be done by the other police departments that entered those as stolen.
Chief, is this where you got that Corvette?
No, sir.
Just checking.
Total arrests were 7, and I'm just going to go through those. You can read those if you're interested in the content. But there was 1 DWI, 1 theft evading arrest, and then 5 warrant arrests. Flipping to page 7, the final page there, and we'll start under additional notes. Just a reminder, I do this each council meeting a couple months before. Just remind everybody that's here that we're in the holiday season, and the bad guys are shopping too. So please take care to be aware of your surroundings and take your items with you. Lock up and don't leave vehicles unlocked. Mesa door access system phase 1 is completed. All ID cards are in use. Phase 2 we're looking at, which is mostly exterior doors. We're waiting on parts, and we're going to schedule that out. And I'm also working with Anna Maria for making sure that the funding is in place prior to starting that, because that's going to affect our entries into the building. Again, we're still looking to fill 4 full-time and 1 part-time position. We also now have our senior police officer program. This is designed for senior officers to meet certain criteria and training to be able to step into a supervisor role in the absence of a sergeant during a shift. And this is a requirement. It's not something that we just came up with. That in many departments, you'll have a supervisor that's absent, and a senior officer will assume that position. But there's a pay difference there, and you're asking them to take on some pretty powerful responsibility. And so we wanted to make sure there's criteria set and that they're being properly paid for that role. Christmas memories went really well. I'd like to applaud to the Parks Department and every department that had anything to do with it, actually, but Parks did a really good job of setting this up this year. Everything really well. I think it was one of our larger crowds. I mean, looking at the streets and where everybody was parked, we can tell by that. Plus, it was spread out, so you don't get to see it if it was all in one area. So I think it was really probably one of the largest ones we had. Weather was great. I'm glad we had the heaters out. It's freezing cold. Anyway, the PD gave away some custom bags. The kids liked it a lot. We had 0 incidents. Santa was escorted successfully. He was a great hit, and we had great interaction between all the departments and all the kids. We also helped out the elementary school with a dismissal because we had to close down the cul-de-sac, and that always creates a little issue for them, but we're always on top of that with the PD to help out. And then let's get to the Corvette in the room. The good part, the Coffee with a Cop. That was Tuesday, December 13th, 10 to 12. It was a big success. We had 9 officers present, and we interacted with the community members and visitors of the area that frequent our Meadows Place Starbucks. So it was pretty good to see. Our officers waited on customers, prepared drinks, and showed off our equipment and views, which include a Corvette that was decked out with our decals. Now, I know, of course, this caused us to go viral a little bit, and it caused a lot of y'all to sweat and make phone calls. It worked perfect. It was super fun. Everybody really loved it, and I wanted to thank On-Site Decals for doing that, and they wrapped it in our markings to show support for our police department and our functions. And they do this for other agencies. It wasn't just ours, but it's a very powerful tool, as you can see, because some of those numbers that came in is that talking to final numbers, the ones that you have are 7.8 or 7.8 thousand views, but actually talking with Cameron this morning, that's up to 8.4 thousand views or plays, and 624 views on Instagram. So I was going to ask Cameron to come up and tell you about how that looks like with our page and how often we get this kind of a hit. So it did go viral, and I'm kind of glad to see that.
So he said it was 8.4. That was this morning, what, like 10:30 we talked? So now it's at 8.5 plays. That's our highest Facebook video ever, including the city's page, not just the police page. It is a shorter video, it's a reel, but still 8.5 thousand is a lot of people, because I think the police page, we have less than 1,000 followers on our police page. And then Instagram, 626 views. That makes it the fourth highest video that we've ever posted on Instagram as well.
And I want to thank you and the chief for coordinating this and getting this information out.
Well, I want to thank Cameron again for getting me in trouble with the Corvette about look at the police chief's new car. I didn't tell him to say that. So with that concludes the police report, and I do have some other information for you all I want to get into later into the meeting. But does anybody have any questions for me regarding this?
Council, any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chief, as always. Love the notes and the reports. Thank you and the guys and gals for all that y'all do. Question about the open positions. Do we have any applicants at the moment?
We have one that I know of that's, but I don't think it's going to make it, or they've already maybe not passed it on that wasn't going to make it, because that's kind of where we're in. But I want to let council know that we're not the only ones in this position right now. And it's unfortunate because I think at this time right now, Stafford's down 12, Missouri City's down 21, and recruiting from the academies is getting tougher. So what all these other agencies are doing is they're stealing your officers, and they're paying them well to come over to their agency. And that's the competition that's at hand right now. In fact, Stafford couldn't find any candidates locally from our local academies, just like we search for. I have the lieutenant go out, and we have other officers that go out and try to recruit, that they actually drove themselves down to the valley and were able to get a couple of recruits from there. So it's I want to assure you that we're doing the best we can, but the market right now that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, Chief. I understand that's an issue. We had a mayor's retreat, as you know, a week ago or so, and that was one of the topics. And we're all kind of squirming because our chiefs are working hard. It's not like they're not doing anything. So all I can do is encourage you to keep it up, and please, and keep your eyes out.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else got anything for the chief? We're done.
All right. Thank you.
Climbing that Corvette.
Yes, sir.
Down the road.
I'm going to go warm it up.
All right. And this evening we're going to have a report from our code enforcement officer, Jennifer Cabello. And so, Jennifer, if you would step up to the podium, get close, speak loud, smile. It's Christmas.
Surely. Good evening, Council. This is the Code Enforcement's first quarter report. If you're looking at the first page, you'll see that there were 397 violations opened and 367 were closed. Total weekends worked were 5. Total cases opened were 292. Cases closed, 404, and 12 citations were issued for noncompliance of junk abandoned vehicles, trash visible from the street, bandit signs, dog at large, unoccupied building, permits not obtained, and no premises number visible. As you can see, I've added 4 new sections in response to Council's last meeting request. You'll see there's a minus invalid, case initiation type, violation closed type, and abatement activities. The minus invalid are simply the number of complaints received that were not valid upon inspection, and there were 14 invalid for this quarter. Moving on, we have case initiation type, 245 were proactive, where I observed the violation myself. 61 were reactive. Next is the violation closed type. There are 318 voluntarily. That's where the homeowner or the occupant obviously got in compliance. 49 were forced abatements, and that refers to me pulling the signs, having lawns mowed and abated, placing a lien on that property, or citations being issued. Those are forced abatements. Abatement activities were 893 inspections completed, 638 notices issued. That would include notices being the door hangers, first notice of violation, second notice of violation, any notice of extension that was granted, and or, unfortunately at times, notice of citation. Moving on to the Fort Bend County Animal Services. They submitted 2 reports during this quarter. The first one was dated October for the month of September. There were 10 calls for service. 1 was a warning for gross negligence of a dog. 6 impounded. That was 1 dog and 5 possums at the same address on different dates.
$27.50 per possum.
And 3 gone on arrival. The second report is dated November 2022 for the month of October. There were 4 calls for service at that same address for 4 possums on different dates.
Just to make sure, they're not doing a trap, neuter, and release, are they, with the possums?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
just
might have to
check.
call and ask, though. So if you look at the second page on the top, you'll see the 5 top violations for the quarter. There were trash next to the curb, not on a trash day, 53 violations. Bandit signs were 51. Grass and weeds in excess of 9 inches were 40. Trash cans, recycle bins visible from the street were 32. Junk abandoned vehicles were 23. Primarily those junk and abandoned vehicles were the ones that had their registrations expired. There were a couple that were also wrecked, including that. You'll notice on the last 2 violations, there's a I equals a number. That goes back to the invalid count. 3 of the trash cans visible from the street were invalid, and that total on the right is already taking that into account.
Jennifer, if I could, just to, numbers confuse me. So you got October through December, you have a total of 32, and you have an I equals 3.
So that means the total was...
That would have been a total of 35.
Yes.
But 3 people called in, is that correct?
Yes.
And you went and checked those out, and there was not a complaint to be had at that address at that time, is that right?
No violation, correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. You got the floor.
So the final note for this report is that the garage on Scottsdale needing a structural permit, the owner requested an extension till December 1st. The date came and went. No permit was obtained. No communication was received from the owner. So a citation was issued for no permit. And that concludes this quarterly report.
Jennifer, just to confirm on that particular one, the garage, you did attempt to make contact with that owner, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because that's kind of an unusual circumstance, and I just want to make sure we're there. Council, anybody have any questions for Jennifer? Jennifer, I'm pleased with this report, but what I want to point out is this is a lot of activity. I appreciate your consistency, and you managed to keeping your numbers up. Sometimes when it's hot, sometimes when it's cold, sometimes when it's rainy.
Yes, sir.
We'll see how you do this week, but no, seriously, these are good numbers, and I really do appreciate it. It means you're out there looking after our city in a very, very judicious manner, and I appreciate that. All right, with that, code enforcement's out of the way, and it's the one y'all been waiting on. all night, and that is the fire report. We've got a good relationship from administrative side with our fire department, with our public works side and our PD side, and that's very, very important. We talked about this again at that retreat. Mayor Willis and I were talking about it, and there were some other mayors who were wondering what can they do? How can they get better fire coverage? Because they're small cities that really don't want to take on the burden of a whole fire truck. That's starting at cost is about $750,000. So they paid attention to the relationship that we have and how we work with the city of Stafford, and it was it's a really good example of cooperation between municipal entities. But this last date range, we had a total of 45 incidents. 16 were medical assist with the EMS crew. Some were just reviewed and no action taken. 7 there was action taken. You have dispatched and canceled type calls for 15 of those 45 were those. So they're busy, and they are coming into our city all times of day and night, responding to all types of calls. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you start adding them up over the year, this past year, we had a grand total of 566 incidents with the fire department and EMS. I want to point out that it was there for a while. We did not have EMS in this city. And we managed to work with the cooperation and the help of Chief DiCamillo over in Stafford to get EMS here in Meadows Place. And I am so thankful for that. And I'm thankful for Commissioners Court for keeping them here. And it's just a blessing for this little 1 square mile to have such a great police department, fire and EMS, and I'm thankful for that. But 566 calls is a lot, and of those, 262 were medical assist with the EMS crew. So that's our primary call load is going to people's houses for EMS rather than fire. And let's hope it stays that way. Anyway, that's it. Concludes the fire report. Anybody got any questions for me? All right. We're going to move on and jump down to item 4, City Administrator's Report. Nick?
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. First of all, you might recall that about a year ago, staff made a change in the way that we handle the city's longevity pay. As a reminder, we do $5 a month for folks that can get that longevity check after 5 years. Before we made the change, those were basically doled out on every paycheck throughout the course of the year. What we've done is made a change and gone ahead and lump summed that on the first paycheck of December. And I know that I feel like it was a good change. I know staff appreciates getting it all at once in December, and want to thank you all for investing in our employees because it is a recognition of their commitment to Meadows Place. And so we had 17 employees that just received those checks. And I want to thank you all again for helping out with that. And I know it was a nice gesture to recognize that tenure here. I've been talking with Cameron a little bit. We've been getting out the holiday schedule for the city facilities. Just want you guys to know that, of course, this Thursday we'll be closing early. We will be closed on Friday and on Monday for the holiday. And then the 2nd of January, that Monday for the new year, will also be closed on that day as well. So wanted to mention that as well. Wanted, as a reminder, staff would like to get with you on January 10th. We want to do a workshop discuss capital projects and some finances. And so we're going to pull that together and see if we can't get everybody in the room for a meeting then. We can talk more about capital projects a little bit later, but just want to put that on your radar. And other than that, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. For me, one of the best gifts that I have is this awesome staff, and it is an absolute joy to come in and work with these folks. And I'm absolutely sincere about that. Not every organization is like that. And to come in and have a smile when you walk in is awesome. So appreciate the staff, appreciate you as council, and let's look forward to 2023.
Thank you for the kind words on behalf of the council and the staff, Nick.
You're all right too, Mayor.
Mayor doesn't care. But no, it's a pleasure to work here. I will say that, but I want to remind you that you have an appointment at 1 o'clock on January 3rd. Okay. Anybody got any questions for our city administrator? I want to make a comment here, just because I feel like talking. I sat in this chair when we didn't have a city administrator. And I listened to other mayors that had city managers and city administrators. And I had colleagues who did not. For a long time, I felt like we were okay. But the world started moving faster. People started getting a little pickier. Things had to be a little more precise and a little more professional. I feel like by making the decision, council, to bring in a city administrator to meet those goals was the right decision. And frankly, I think we got pretty fortunate in the city administrator that we've got. So we are very well respected out in the community. I sat around a table of a whole bunch of other mayors, and Meadows Place was very well thought of. I had a state representative out of Waller County who had nothing but good things to say about us and from what he'd heard. So I'm very pleased and proud of that. And the staff that we have trying to set the bar high and then push it up each and every day, I think they've achieved it. And I think your guidance and leadership on that has meant a lot, Nick. And so thank you, and Merry Christmas to you too. So with that, we're going to move on to Mayor's Council and comments. Speaking of staff, item A under Mayor's comments is one. I just want to recognize Courtney Rutherford, our city secretary, has been elected treasurer of the Saltgrass chapter of County Clerks, or whatever it is. There's 80 members in that organization representing 60-something cities. That's a lot. And I'll tell you what, there's some high achievers in there. And they're all pretty smart people. And they were smart enough to elect Courtney as their treasurer. That's a 1 year, I believe, correct? That you'll be treasurer. She was shooting for sort of historian or something. They went, no. You're moving up the line, lady. So anyway, congratulations. It's an honor for her to receive that, and I just want to say congratulations, Courtney. And I know it's going to take some time and effort on your part this next year, and you're certainly going to represent the city of Meadows Place well on that. So let's give Courtney a round of applause. And thank you for stepping up. You do here, so you might as well there too. I want to point out item B is a new website. What I'm pointing out on that is that we are in the process of working with Bizopia. We'll start the actual sit down with Cameron and Eric over at Bazopia, and they'll start to put together what our new website's going to look like. It's going to take a while, a couple of months at least, but we're going to get rid of some of the dead wood that's there. We're going to make it hopefully easier to use, make things where they're not hiding, and to allow for us to utilize all the technology available. Right now, our website is old and they've got new technology, and Cameron and others try to do things and they can't, simply because technology is too old. So we're making that move, and we're shifting it into the 21st century, and it's going to be a lot of work. And Cameron's just the guy for it. He's learned our website, learned what was done, and then in working with Bazopia, we had a conference with them, and boy, it seems like they're on the sink. So Cameron, thank you for picking that ball up and running with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it when we roll out. And we've got some plans on how to review it and everything before we process it out. And again, I'm leaving up to Cameron to roll that stuff out, in case you didn't know that. So anyway, thank you, Cameron, and we'll be back in probably March and we'll give you a progress report. How's that? Council comments. I see they're both Alderman Rick Stakely. Well, he's in the Poconos. What do we do now? No, we're not going skiing.
Alderman Mills says she'd be happy to.
All right, Kelly, what do we got? No.
Well, let me try and interpret. I'm not
There you go.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know if you knew that. I'm also not a project manager, but I'll do my best impression. So if Rick were here, he'd say,
It's a mess.
it's a mess. So on Dorrance, I do want you to know that obviously work is ongoing. The last we had talked about doing a change order to extend their requested time to finish the project to January 17th. We're now hearing from the contractor that they're going to blow by that deadline as well. Okay. We still need information from them, and we're gathering it, but what they're going to do is they're going to give us an official request for an extension on the completion date of the project. We don't know yet when that's going to be. We don't have that yet. But one of the things they have to do when they submit that to us is essentially give us some justification as to why. Okay? So what we will do is when we get that letter from them, and that letter will be drafted very deliberately, we're going to have to regroup with our engineer and figure out where to go from there, because ultimately it's up to you guys as a council to approve a change order that would then, which is essentially a modification to the contract,
Right.
To grant them that extension. It's a little too early to be talking about other things, but just want you guys to know that even though they're steadily working and the city's doing whatever we can to clear the runway for them to finish, that they have put us on notice that they're not even going to meet January 17. So I want you to know that. It is going to get done. Original completion date was in November, as you guys might remember. And when they originally requested that 5-week extension, it was because of supply delays, primarily. So we'll see what they come back with this second one, and go from there. But that's really all I know at this time, and that's all we can say for sure. The second item, mobility bond. As you guys know, the bridge aesthetic has been submitted, so they've got that information. They are approaching 90% completion on the design. We are still circling on Centerpoint. And so the permit that's in process with them right now has to do with the boring, getting the boring samples to do some of the work. There is a fee associated with that. And not only is there an application fee, but there is a fee per bore. And so we've gone ahead and issued that fee. And now we're waiting for a response from there. We also have to give them a $5,000 deposit once we get the okay, just for the possibility of damages when we go ahead and do our boring. We will still be ready to bid. The idea was to bid Q1 of 2023. A lot of that's simply, quite frankly, going to depend on when CenterPoint can get back to us and give us the green light to start doing our boring. So we're doing what we can to continue to bug them. I'm sure Rick would have some words of wisdom from his perspective on CenterPoint, which I'm going to defer. But that's where we are on the mobility bond. So, questions?
Council? Thank you very much. She wants to speak? Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, Cheryl Teague, 116 Dorrance, 11 Dorrance. I wanted to talk about the construction on Dorrance. I had written an email about a month ago on behalf of several neighbors and their complaints. I sent it to the mayor, to Nick and aldermen, and I got no response from anyone. And several neighbors have had similar complaints about calling a number of you and not getting answers to questions that they had and concerns that they had. The biggest concerns that I see are safety issues of pool drains supposedly are not allowed to go out to the street. I don't really understand how that works. I don't have a pool, but now they are draining over the sidewalk, which is causing a muddy mess. And these are sidewalks that, are supposed to be ADA compliant for disabled people, and they are going to be full of mud, and I'm afraid people are going to fall, and there's going to be issues, legal issues with the city, and also they're not really giving us anywhere to walk safely. I think I heard from the last meeting, or a few meetings ago, that we paid like $3,500 for temporary sidewalks to be put in each section. I think that was a complete waste of money. We need to get our money back. I have pictures here to show you what the sidewalks look like. They're very unsafe. They're leaving rebar laying on them and wood and things like that. And I have seen no one use them except for maybe one tiny little section that's like 2 boards long, and that's it. And when they did put it up, it just didn't look safe for walking on either. And to get to our homes, we have to walk over a muddy, slippery mess that also has other things to walk over, wood with nails sticking out of them, boards, and rebar, and all kinds of other things. As for the driveways, they just poured our driveway today. It may look good, but I counted the rebar that was in our existing driveway. It was 18 things of rebar going this way, and when they put it in, they only put 13 in. And the sidewalk section has less rebar per the amount of feet, and the rebar was like way up high, close to the top board, and I think it's may just pop out of there. And also they did not pound down the dirt. When they did the roads, they made sure everything was good and flat. They did not do that with our driveways at all. And that's, substandard work. It's not the way the driveway was originally. And so they did not pound down the dirt, which is what's really required when you're putting in cement. So my husband had to do our driveway himself so that it was done properly, because he's a perfectionist and he doesn't want issues later. But I'm afraid that may cause issues with the city later at some point if people are having issues with their driveways. There's workers parking in people's driveways and have parked on people's front yards without permission from the homeowners. And there's been lots of complaints about that. Trash being thrown all over the place by the workers as well. And people driving the wrong direction down the street, including the workers and mail trucks, delivery trucks, just normal people. there should be signs put up, and this was one of the many of these things I mentioned in my email, but that say no through traffic because people are driving too fast. It's unsafe. We have to walk all the way across a muddy mess to get to our taking our trash and recycling out and getting to our mail. And it's unsafe already, let alone having people driving down the street the wrong direction that you have to watch for. We have elderly people on our street, and it's just not a safe situation for any of us who can even walk right, let alone the older people who have difficulty. So I have some pictures of those things I'd like to share with you guys to look at, and there's some notes on the pictures. I think that's all of my things. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Cheryl, thank you so much. I was a little bit surprised. I thought I had responded to that email. It was quite lengthy, and it took me a time to go through it.
I'm sorry.
And I'm going to suggest that to anybody that's here or listening, when you have something to discuss with a council member or with Nick, if you can limit it to one thing, it allows us to respond. If I've got 9 things, but I can only respond to one, I'm not going to respond until I get through tracking, because it just confuses the situation.
I tried. It was longer. I shortened it.
Yes, I know. And so that's why I'm still not sure but I couldn't find it. I looked today for quite a while, and I'm so sorry, because I usually try to respond to those. But if you would, and this is to you and anybody else, break yours down, get it down to a respond. Like you talked about 4 or 5 things on safety, maybe you could lump those together. But more than that, it gets too cumbersome, and it gets a little confusing for us to try to track down things. So okay. If you would help us help you, it'd be great. I know you live at 11611 Dorrance, and it's a mess. That word was handed to me by Rick Stagley when we first started construction in there, and I started getting involved in it. And I was trying to get some kind of a word to deal with the public. Mm-hmm. And he said, Charlie, it's going to be a mess, and it's going to stay that way until it's finished, and then we'll clean up, and then it'll be great. Till then, it's going to be a mess. It still gives me a little bit of heartburn when I sit down there and say, well, it's going to be a mess, but that's what it will be till it's done, and that's what it is right now, unfortunately, for you. If it gives you any consolation, I think when you're done, people are going to be going, well, how come she got her street done? Because it's going to be nice, and we're going to have wider sidewalks. And if you look on the other side of the street where it's finished over there, after rain, you used to have several bird baths. A couple of them were pretty big right in that area, and you got none now. So hopefully the quality of the workmanship on both sides will work, and we'll have that type of quality roadway when we finished, Cheryl. So I want to say thank you for coming up. You want to give those photographs here to Courtney? She'll collect them for you.
Okay. And also, like on our street, we didn't have any flooding issues. Like when it came to the hurricanes and things like that, our street really didn't flood. And so the issue now is like, are the pools going to flood? Have flooding issues because the drains are not going out to the street.
Well, the pools are a different issue. Pool owners should never, ever be pumping it out into the street.
No, but I'm just talking like when it rains a lot and the pools, from my understanding, therefore when the pool gets too much rainwater in it so that rainwater has somewhere to go so it's not flooding their backyards. And then it's going to be going over the streets and causing problems. That's drainage
within their backyard. And that's I can't answer that because I don't have a pool either.
Yeah.
So, pool owners will have to deal with that. and come up with their own drainage systems. I mean, and everybody's going to be different. The way the whole city was made was designed to run from front yard to the back in 99.9% of the city.
You mean the backyard to the front?
What did I say, front to back? Sometimes it is front to back now, but because we've settled so much. I just adjusted doors and adjusted 1/2 an inch. So anyway, these are issues that have nothing to do with that construction as far as the pools are concerned. But all the rest of them, I mean, you can talk about those, and I think you illustrate the Christmas spirit of trying to look after your neighbor. So it's a good meeting to hand this stuff in on, Cheryl. So with that, I'm going to say Merry Christmas, and if that's it, just hand your stuff
Merry
in.
Christmas to all of you, too.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else want to talk to us about Nick's comments? No. Okay.
I've got a couple of comments concerning the project.
Excuse me, Terry, would you like to address us on the project?
Now, or I could have waited later, but I can right now.
No, if it's about the project,
That's the project,
now's the time and place. Who are you?
Who am I?
And do you really live in?
Oh, you know who I am? Terry Henley, 12203 Austin Drive. No, Mike, Cheryl raised some issues, and there's always safety concerns, and like you said, it's a mess, and it's just maybe paying a little more attention to the boards and what have you, but it's going to be a mess until it's finished. Mine has to do specifically on the side that's supposedly been finished. Okay? The first one is 11510 Dorrance, and I will go ahead and probably finish this up and send an email to probably Charlie and to Rick and to maybe whoever wants it. The issue is on this particular address is the sidewalk and the driveway. When they poured the sidewalk, they made it about 6 inches lower than the old sidewalk, and now the driveway from the sidewalk up to the house don't meet. It's got a gap in it. And the rest of the driveways they seem to do okay, but this one they just screwed it up big time. The actual superintendent has said he will address it and try to correct it, but it would never been an issue if they'd put the sidewalk back the same level it was when they tore it out. So it's created an elevation issue and slope from the yard down to the sidewalk as well as the driveway. So there's a couple of issues there. That's at 11510 Dorrance.
Okay, well, we've got the address noted, Terry. Thank you.
Next one is 11514 Dorrance. For some reason, they put the manhole cover for the storm sewer up in the in Susan Hood's yard.
Okay, Terry, would you like for me to address that?
Well, if
would you like for me to address that, Terry? Why don't I address it?
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Okay. Well,
the reason they put that in Susan Hood's yard right where it was is because that's exactly where that manhole was when it got covered up with dirt and grass.
You're saying before the construction?
Yeah, probably.
There was one there all along?
Probably something around 50 years
50
ago.
Years ago?
Yeah.
Well, at least in talking with Susan's daughter, they weren't aware of it, and when they uncovered the dirt, they realized that a manhole cover there, and they wondered where that came from. I'm just,
And Terry, thank you very much, and I will assure you that Nick's had several conversations as with Susan, as have I, and the construction folks, and they were surprised. They thought we could just move it. Well, we can't because there's nothing down there. The manhole cover needs to go right where it is. So they've gone out and redone, and they're going to adjust the brick to make the wall and all that kind of stuff. So they're working with Susan. And
so you're saying from the beginning there was an easement there to allow them to have a manhole cover in the front yard?
Yep.
We're down the street at 11614, the manhole covers on the sidewalk, which is the way it should be.
So
And there's no reason why it couldn't be in the sidewalk there at 11514.
well,
There isn't.
it would have.
Now, if there's an easement on their property that allows them to use that, then there's nothing that can be done. I understand that. But if there isn't an easement, then there's an issue.
So I think what you're talking about is the right-of-way in front of the house, and the manhole that was raised is all within the right-of-way.
Is what?
The manhole that you're talking about that was raised
Yes.
is completely within the right-of-way. So where it was before, the old manhole was covered in a lot of dirt. So that junction box underneath is still there. So that's where it had to connect. If we would have moved that manhole into the sidewalk,
You gotta move
it
the
would
whole
have been a
junction
lot
box.
more invasive and a lot more expensive because it would have changed the design of the drainage in that area. So it had to stay right there, and they knew that manhole was there. And I know Ms. Hood has been talking with the contractor.
Okay.
And so she, in fact, last I heard was that they came with a workable solution. So the contractor's been speaking with her, and so she's talking to them about how to put it back and everything. But the way that it was put in there is the way it was designed to be put in there. And that manhole was always there.
So it's always been there.
It's always been there. I've got,
It's like, okay.
after the meeting, if you want to see a photo of it, I'll show you. It's old and rusty, but it's under about a foot of dirt.
Yeah. But it is, seemed like it's raised a lot higher than it was in the past, so.
Well,
It
of
had to
course,
be.
and Terry, we did that to accommodate her yard so she could have that decorative wall in front.
Oh, okay.
She was given, yeah.
Well, it's just brought up, and of course,
Another
in talking
great
with them.
example of us busting our tail to make our citizens happy, and I'm glad you brought it up because now the thousands of followers that we have on this live stream
That's good.
will know
That's
about
good.
it.
Very good. Because a lot of the neighbors weren't aware of it. They just, what's that doing there? Like they didn't. Okay. Good. Okay. That's basically it. It's just, the 11510 has got to be addressed because of the sidewalk and the way the sidewalk meets the driveway. It's a mess right now. And the superintendent said he will address it. He just doesn't know when. Okay.
Well, we know it's not going to be done before January 17th.
Okay.
I've written it down. We'll talk about it in our next meeting with the contractor.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Those are the types of things that need to be discussed. That's why we allow comments on this stuff, why we have open commentary to be able to talk about this stuff, and for folks to come down here and address council directly instead of on a backdoor blog or something to that effect. So we appreciate that, Terry. Anything else on this? No. Moving on to item D, regular agenda. Item 1, discussion and consideration of resolution 2022-45, appointing 3 directors to the Economic Development Corporation for a term commencing immediately upon passage of this resolution and ending December 31st, 2024. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the City Council, City of Meadows Place, that Bob Graff, Brian Frame, and I can't read this last name. Oh, Terry Henley are appointed. I'm sorry, Terry, I couldn't resist. Are appointed as directors of Meadows Place 4B Economic Development Corporation to serve for a 2-year term to the end of December 31, 2024, or until a successor is appointed. Council, I need a motion to appoint those folks to EDC.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kurt.
Second.
Second by guy on the end down there, David Mertens. All in favor?
Aye.
There's no use looking down there past Kelly, is there? Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I want to say to Bob, who's watching, to Brian and to Terry, thank y'all very much. I've met here in the last month with several mayors and several members of various different economic development corporations, and we play well with one another, and I want to say thank you for that. Council, that's something that we should be proud of. Item number 2, discussion and consideration resolution 2022-46, appointing 2 commissioners to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term commencing immediately upon passing this resolution and ending December 31, 2024. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by City Council, City of Meadows Place, that Matt Altamari and Meredith Smith are hereby appointed as commissioners to the Meadows Place Planning and Zoning Commission to serve for 2 years at the end of December 31st, 2024. We have 2 members to be nominated. Need a motion to appoint.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, David. And Kelly's got the second, so David is made the motion. We got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Boy, if I tell you what, I'm going to interrupt here. Our city administrator and myself have been involved in this past month with several folks, sometimes the same folks, over and over again. And planning and zoning has played a huge role in our positioning. And so it's important that we have good people on that planning and zoning commission that care about our city. And I think y'all just appointed 2. Item number 3, discussion consideration of ordinance 2022-57, setting the 24th day of January 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Meadows Place City Hall, 1 Troyan Drive in Meadows Place, as the date, time, and place for a joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission to receive public comments regarding Chapter 153, 074, special off-street parking here in the city, where I'm lost, off-street parking regulations. So, council, all we're doing is setting a date of January 24th to have a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Kurt. Second by Kelly. Way to go, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Yes, ma'am. That's the regulations that just the code of ordinances to deal with all of our parking regulations. We've got some things that we're going to discuss possible changing, and the great thing for you to do, Cheryl, really seriously, is to be at that public hearing. If you want to check the code of ordinances ahead of time, there's a couple of them, and I'm going to volunteer Jennifer behind you because she deals with them, or Courtney Rutherford right here that can help you with the code of ordinances. So, okay? Now, not flippant, that's what our Chapter 153 is, zoning ordinance, off-street parking. In other words, not in the driveway. Item 4, discussion and consideration of item 2022-58, amending the general fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, in the amount not to exceed $26,910 from the general fund balance to line item 100-040-566000 irrigation systems for a new irrigation system at the community system center. And we've got a summary on that somewhere. And I am looking for it. Here it is. If y'all, council, if you'll look, this was approved by us in the last fiscal year. It didn't get done. We're carrying the money forward this fiscal year and just reappropriating into this year's budget. Did I say that right, Nick? All right. So, if that's the case, do I have a motion to move the money?
Move to approve.
Motion by Kurt.
Second.
Second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. I hate irrigation. Oops, my mic was on. Item number 5, Discussion and consideration regarding the addition of 2 surplus police vehicles to the city fleet. This is a little bit complicated, but it was pointed out that in the past we've always rolled these surplus vehicles off, sold them, gotten rid of them, and we haven't increased our fleet. This time we had somebody screaming for more vehicles. So we have actually just requested or required of Chief to not sell them and to move them forth. And we're actually going to be trying to put one into parks, 2 of them into parks, but one of them goes to Jennifer. Okay? Because Jennifer's is going to go to parks, assuming everything works right. So, does anybody have any questions about what I just said? Well, if that's the case, do I have a motion to to add 2 vehicles to our fleet? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, I'm going to stop right here since we have just carried that. And I'm going to thank the chief. He's given us a bunch of data, and he has really run some data out. And you see there, on one of them, we don't have a lot of data because we weren't keeping the data the same way the chief does. And now that we are all doing that, Rod gets a ticket, for instance, and he hands it right in to the PD who runs this whole section. And now Parks is doing that, and will continue to do that. And people, what we're looking at is results of we know how much per mile our vehicles cost to operate. When we have PD vehicles, when we know they get up to be 27, 29 cents, it's time to start looking at rolling them over. Give you an idea, we're looking at some that are 17, 11, and 4 cents. And that 4 may be a little light because we weren't tracking it the same way we do on all the rest. So I'm very confident that as we look in there, that we're going to be able to track this, follow this, and know what happens. And we'll have to get this settled and get these vehicles moved in.
I have a question regarding that. Do we have a threshold at some point for non-police vehicles where it reaches a certain cost per mile that we're going to...
It's not predetermined, David, no.
So we don't have one, okay.
But that's why I wanted to bring this to you guys. I just felt like it was important to give you guys visibility and approval authority on the fact
knowing that very thing is coming.
Okay.
Because we didn't budget to maintain what essentially is 2 more vehicles.
Correct.
In the fleet. And so it may be that in September we need to adjust the budget to, help get us through the end of the year, given the fact that we've increased the number of vehicles by 2.
Okay.
It's not unusual for us to obviously do a little bit of musical chairs with vehicles. The difference this year is that it's not 1 in, 1 out. We're actually keeping 2 vehicles and increasing that fleet by 2 over on the admin side. So I wanted you guys to have some visibility on that.
No, I'd say this is a really good way to track, and I appreciate the effort in doing this. I think again, for me, it's 3 years down the road. If these 2 vehicles are no longer economically operable, we'll have the records to say, hey, we're reaching a certain point. At that point, we'll have a policy, or somebody will have a policy that says, hey, it's time to get rid of these. They're no longer useful. They're costly.
Or, David, on the other side of that, when somebody comes in and goes, I want a new car, we can go, well, let's see, yours is still only costing us 12 cents. No, you're going to drive it till it dies. So there's 2 sides of that information, and I really look forward to it. But we'll see. With that, we'll talk about shuffling this tomorrow. Discussion and item number 6, discussion consideration regarding estate sale, duration, and signage in the city. Council, we made some changes in our garage sale ordinances. And one of the big things was we, as a council collectively, decided to add estate sales and separate. Then we had somebody come up and hold an estate sale in the city, just 2 weeks ago, Jennifer? And they did it right. They held it for a week. They put their signs out every day. They took them up every night. Boy, I was madder than a wet hen when I saw them first coming out. I said, I bet you that's somebody with a garage sign up. Well, it wasn't. It was a real estate sale. Now, you recall, council, that they can have one at that household for that owner. But what came up to me and really got me to worrying, and I'm just throwing this up because I'm not comfortable with it, is we didn't put any time limit to an estate sale. Somebody wanted to, the way we're sitting right now, they could come out on January 3rd, get the permit for an estate sale, and end it on December 23rd, and we got no say. That's not what we intended, but that's the way we sit now. So I wanted to throw it back up to council, and we don't have to do anything with it today, but I would like to at least get the ball rolling and say I think we need to put some sort of a time frame that you can hold an estate sale. Many times they're 1 day or 2 days or 1 weekend. Okay, I've done some checking around, and I was raised up where I had country kinfolk, and when they had an estate sale, it also included farms and farm animals and farm implements, and they held auctions and price downs that day. And people opened up the house. People walk in. If it had a tag on it, it walked out. And that's how an estate sale works, because you remember they can't put it out on the garage or out on the driveway. So, council, I'm throwing this up. I'd like to put some sort of a stop on the limit of time they could have an estate sale. Anybody's thoughts?
Yeah, I think we addressed the frequency, and we got that right one time. I think it was calendar year. We're moving for whatever reason, but it was so it wouldn't be a continual thing. I don't think anybody thought about the duration. I think
I didn't.
I would say a week. I don't know. Again, if it's one time and you're going to do it over a period of time, somebody's got to work it or somebody's got to be there to do it. So to me, it's not out anywhere. It's somebody going into the house and leaving that window long enough for them to get rid of everything.
5 days seems a little long in my mind, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't do estate sales. Typically what I see is 3 days, I think. But again, I'd be happy to hear from anyone else.
And I would also like to point out that a professional company, and this came out in our original discussion, most of them, they come up and anything that's left over, it goes either directly to Goodwill or some charity, or it goes into their truck, more than likely, to their auction house. Okay? But the house is then cleared. When we have family running it, they're not going to have the access to that. That's not on us. That's on them. And so they got to sell it in a hurry. Jennifer, how long did that one run? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that's 3 days. Kelly, you got any thoughts on this? Because you're nicer than I am. And are you not talking through your microphone to stay secret, or
It's secret.
Okay.
3 to 5 days is usually like estatesales.com. If you go look at them online, then you go to them.
So we've got a 3 or a 3 to 5. David? So 5 days. Do we want to say which 5 days? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And you know what? If we do 5 now and it becomes a problem, we can always address it later.
Shoot it. Yeah, we're going to give you 14 hours. You know, so, okay. So council, does anyone want to make a motion to?
5 consecutive days?
Yes. Thank you. Oh, look at that.
I'll make a
There's
motion
that
that we
professionalism.
amend this ordinance to include a duration not to exceed 5 days, 5 continuous days.
Just taking your direction, we'll bring an ordinance back to you at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, 5 days. Consecutive days. I'm glad you put that in because somebody said, well, we're going to do it on January 1st, February 8th. And you know that would happen. So, council, that's good. That's a good catch. Thank you very much on that. I'm happy with it. I'm kind of a 3-day guy on this.
Yeah.
But I considered, if it's all professionals, I knew if it was going to be professionals, I'd have no problem with 3 days. If a family's going to have to be handling it, it might take them 3 days to get it together. So, council, we are here now, moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to pass the consent agenda? Motion by Kelly. Second by, was that David? All in favor? All right, any opposed? Hearing none, that consent agenda is passed unanimously. Flew through there. Now we have item F, audience comments for items not on the agenda. Would anybody like to come up and speak to us about items not on the agenda? The next item is G, adjourn. And with no objections, this meeting is adjourned.